This is the worst budget for working people in a generation. They're taxing you by 14.9 billion. There's zero meaningful tax on actual wealthy people, and they're specifically making it harder for you to save for retirement while protecting those who've already retired. I'm going to show you exactly how they're going to be attacking working people when they explicitly said they wouldn't. I've set the video out so you can jump to chapters that affect you, but I'd recommend watching it all, because when you see the full picture, you'll understand why I think this is the worst budget in decades. Let's start with the most disgraceful part of this budget, the attack on pension savings for working people. They're applying national insurance to salary sacrifice pension contributions. 4.7 billion they're taking from people trying to save for retirement. If someone's already retired, well, their pensions are completely protected. They paid no national insurance on their pension contributions back in the day, and many of them got tax relief at 40% and are now paying 20% tax in retirement. And that's a pretty sweet deal. You're getting hammered. You and your employer now have to pay up to 15% extra on your pension contributions. Let me spell out what this means. You're 35, you're earning 40k, putting £300 a month into your pension through salary sacrifice, you will be paying more tax. Your employer will either cut your pension contributions, freeze your pay, or just decide you're too expensive. Meanwhile, Margaret down the road, she's already retired. She's retired on a final salary pension that you could never dream of having. She's not affected. In fact, her pension just went up with the triple lock, which you're also paying for. This is an intergenerational wealth transfer. They're making it impossible for working people to build the very security that the current pensioners enjoy. And remember, it's not pensioners' fault. They don't design policy. It's the government. It's Rachel Reeves. It's Labour, the party of the working people. But it gets worse. They've cut the cash ISA limit from 20,000 to 12,000. But if you're over 65, you're exempt. Think about it. If you're 64, working full time, desperately trying to build up savings for retirement, you have a 12k limit. Turn 65, suddenly you can save 20k. The people who need to save, right? Young people, young families, first-time buyers, people building emergency funds, get less allowance than wealthy pensioners who already own their homes outright. This isn't just unfair. It feels like it's deliberately designed to prevent working people from building tax-free wealth. They want you paying tax on everything, while those who already have wealth keep it protected. Now let's look at income tax. They scrapped the income tax rise because it's too obvious and basically everyone hated it. Instead, they're trying to hide this tax grab by freezing the tax thresholds until 2031. And they're hoping you just don't notice that this is a huge tax increase. This raises £8 billion and every penny comes from working people. The personal allowance has been frozen at 12,570 since 2021. By 2031, with inflation, it should be around 18k. That's 5,400 of your money that should be tax-free, but it isn't. And here's what this means for real workers. So if you're a minimum wage worker in 2021, you basically didn't pay tax. By 2031, with minimum wage increases and tax thresholds frozen, you'll be paying over £1,000 extra in tax every year. You're not better off. Inflation has just eaten your pay rise. If you're a teacher on 35k, by 2031, you'll be paying an extra 1,600 annually. Not because tax rates went up, but because they've just dragged you into higher tax brackets. Junior doctors on 55k, you'll be paying 2,400 more. And you'll probably get dragged into the 40% tax bracket that was meant for high earners, not professionals starting their careers. This isn't incompetence. This is designed. They know wages rise with inflation. They know freezing thresholds means every pay rise gets taxed more. This is an 8 billion tax on you. But by doing this, they can stand up and say, we haven't raised tax rates on working people. But we're not stupid. This is a huge tax raid. Now, you might think business taxes don't affect you, and this is where you're wrong. Every business tax becomes a tax on workers through lower wages and fewer jobs. At the minute, we're losing 1,000 jobs every single day according to the IFS. In the budget, they're cutting corporation tax allowances, raising 1.5 billion. When businesses can't write off equipment and investments, they don't grow. When they don't grow, they don't hire. And when they don't hire, your wages stagnate. The OBI admits this. They forecast that employer NIC increases and business taxes will reduce real wages and labour supply. Translation, you'll earn less and you might lose your job. Then you have electric cars. From 2028, they're charging you per mile for driving electric or hybrid vehicles. 1.4 billion is what they're raising. Working people who stretched their finances to buy electric, thinking they were doing the right thing, saving the environment, betrayed. But here's who's laughing. Wealthy people with multiple cars, classics in the garage, gas guzzling Range Rovers for the weekends. They're fine. It's the working family with one electric car which is going to get hammered. The next one might not sound like a big one, but it is. They're raising 2.3 billion from enhanced compliance. What is enhanced compliance, you might ask? Well, we've been talking about HMRC's new powers and how they're using big data to launch more and more tax investigations on individuals. They're not targeting big corporates, not Amazon, not Starbucks. They shouldn't pay tax. They target the sole trader who made a mistake on their tax return, the contractor confused by IR35, the small business owner who can't afford an accountant. They've raised so much money by sending out HMRC letters in the last 2 years that they're doubling down on it. Soon, we'll all be getting tax letters, checking that we paid the right tax, and God forbid, if we made a mistake, they're going to sting us with penalties. So you might ask, where are all these wealth taxes they were talking about? Well, they're gone. The only thing they introduced was a council tax surcharge on homes worth more than 2 million. That raises 400 million pounds. That's it. To put that in perspective, frozen thresholds on workers, 8 billion. Pension contributions tax, 4.7 billion. Tax on 2 million pounds homes, 400 million. If you own a 2 million pound house, this surcharge is nothing. You probably spend more on your gardener. This is gesture politics, pretending to tax wealth or just continuing to hammer workers. Here's what they refuse to do. A wealth tax on assets over 10 million, nothing. Closing non-dom loopholes properly, nothing. Transaction tax on luxury goods, nothing. Properly taxing private equity carried interest, nothing. Inheritance tax reform on the genuinely wealthy, nothing. They could have raised the same money from people with hundreds of millions. Instead, they chose to take it from your payslip and your pension. So what about small businesses? Now, last year, they taxed small business 44 billion. This year, they're raising dividend tax by 2%. So who's going to get hit by this? Well, it's not the billionaires. They don't take dividends. They borrow against assets tax-free. It hits the small business owner who set up a limited company, the freelancer who incorporated, the family business paying out modest dividends. After paying corporation tax, you're probably paying more tax than someone who works for someone else. Why would you even bother risking starting a business when you can just earn more work for someone else? So from what we can see, this government is only raising taxes on working people. But what is worse is they're making it an intergenerational issue. If you're a pensioner, your pension income is protected. You get higher ISA allowances, you keep winter fuel payments, your state pension rises with the triple lock, you paid no national insurance on pension contributions. Your generation got final salary pensions. If you're working, your ISA allowance is cut. Your wages are eroded by fiscal drag. You pay national insurance on pension contributions. You'll never see a final salary pension. This isn't accidental. And I'm not saying it's the pensioners' fault. It's Reeves chasing votes. They're making it impossible for working people to build wealth that older generations took for granted. House prices are 8 times average wages. When current pensioners bought, it was 3 times. They're taxing your pension savings. Current pensioners get full relief. They're limiting your ISA savings. Pensioners get higher limits. They're freezing your tax allowances while protecting pensioners' benefits. This is about keeping working people exactly where they are, working, taxed, and able to build security. Let's show you what this means with real numbers. A 30-year-old on 35k saving for a house. Fiscal drag costs £1,400. Lost ISA allowance, 8,000 less tax-free savings every year. Pension contribution hit £400 annually. Total over £2,000 worse off each year. House deposit dream, basically dead. So then you've got a 45-year-old on 50k trying to catch up on the pension contributions. Fiscal drag, £2,000 gone. National insurance and their pension sacrifice, £600 gone. A dividend tax on small investments, £300 gone. That's nearly £3,000 annually. Your comfortable retirement is becoming harder and harder. Then we've got the 25-year-old graduate on 28k, dragged into tax for the first time. They can't afford pension contributions, the ISA limit's cut when they're trying to save, and they've got frozen student loan repayment thresholds to deal with. That means their effective tax rate is probably the highest in the country. So their long-term wealth building opportunity is basically non-existent. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This budget only taxes working people. This budget will backfire, and we'll see this play out over the coming days. But this is what you need to do. First, maximize any ISA allowance you have now before April. Even if it's just £50 a month, just get it in there. Second, if you're using salary sacrifice, have a serious conversation with your employer about maintaining your total package. Third, if you're self-employed or a director, you need to completely restructure how you take money out of the business. The old rules just don't apply anymore. Now, we've created a comprehensive guide, Surviving the 2025 Budget, with specific strategies, calculations, and action plans based on your situation. It's free, and the link's in the description. So coming back to the budget, this country has a spending problem. Rather than dealing with spending, they're asking you for more money. They've chosen to take it from people who work rather than people who have wealth. They've protected pensioners who had every advantage, affordable houses, free education, final salary pensions, and they're destroying the chances of working people to ever achieve that same security. This is the worst budget for working people in a generation, not because of how much they're taking, but because of who they're taking it from and who they're protecting. Over the next few weeks, we are going to be ripping this budget apart, so make sure to stay tuned.